Huh?
You're listening to Cryptid Clues, featuring your hosts, Taylor Field and Reuben Olson.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another episode of Cryptid Clues. I am Taylor Field.
And I'm Reuben Olson.
And we have a very awesome episode today. It is a twofer. We have two different cryptids we're going to be diving into. But before we get to that, a couple of plugs. Be sure to check us out at CryptidClues.ca. You can find our blog and a whole bunch of other information on our latest episodes there. You can also find us on our social media channels like Facebook and our Patreon for exclusive ad-free episodes as well. And if you want, you can reach out to us at CryptidClues@gmail.com. Well, what are we getting into now today, Reuben? What is our first cryptid?
We're going to dover into the Diver Demon, or rather, dive right into the Dover Demon.
Yes. This thing, just right off the hop, this thing doesn't have a lot of information around it or behind it.
No, honestly, you look into this thing and you find maybe like 2 paragraphs on it, here and there, and a whole lot of copies of those 2 paragraphs. There's not much to go on.
Yeah.
But boy, is this guy one ugly-looking alien mother trucker.
Well, it's very mysterious, and when we get into the sighting portion of it, it's just like a once in a lifetime phenomenon.
Yep. It was only around for 2 days.
Yeah. Very consistently too. And I'm excited because you have some very interesting information on top of those sightings, which will be very awesome to talk about. Before getting to that, though, the look to this thing, I want to start off with that. So, described as having like a watermelon-shaped head. It's got like a very lanky, weird-looking body, skinny, like large eye sockets, glowing eyes, with really nothing else that's really notable on its face. No facial features to really relate to.
Like an elongated alien gray skull.
Yeah.
Like a figure 8 with skin wrapped around it.
Yeah, that's a good explanation. No more than 4 feet tall, hairless body, with a bright orange skin tone. Now, I'm assuming, based on how many sightings there were, this information is coming solely from the only couple of witnesses that were around at that time to see it.
Yeah, I wrote down peach colored. I'm not
Peach colored,
or orange like peach colored, something like that.
Yeah. Now this thing, to me, it preaches alien-like.
It really does, and there's not a whole lot to go on with the sightings. Definitely a little different than a regular alien encounter with a 4-foot tall gray or something like that. This one's a little special.
Well, this one, in terms of how it's like even moving, I believe it was reportedly not like necessarily walking on 2 feet, but even illustrations, it's displayed as crawling with very long fingers to be, I'm assuming, like grabbing into things to like climb around, which again is very odd. But then again, you look at a lot of alien illustrations and stuff, even like Grace, they have long fingers. It's something like E.T. almost.
And the feet on this one are just like its fingers, though, too.
Yeah.
Normally you hear about a gray and it's got like boots, or people don't really talk about the feet, so we just picture them as normal, like covered feet.
So very monkey-like in that sense too, I guess.
And that was one of the debunks for it, was maybe it was like an escaped capuchin monkey, not a capuchin monkey, some kind of orange monkey.
Yeah. Just without the fur or without the hair?
Nah, just the orange monkey.
Just an
maybe
orange
a younger
monkey.
one. But going from back to the description here, one of the things I thought might be interesting is if it is like a gray alien or something, maybe it's just wearing a special suit. Because it's described as having like a rough, wet sandpaper, peach-colored texture to its entire body.
Mm-hmm.
And it's covered from head to toe with it. with no facial features beyond the eyes. And usually greys are described as having a little bit more facial features, a little bit
Yeah.
more predominant features. This is almost like it's been covered up, head to toe, in some kind of crazy outfit. And then the witnesses describe it almost as being like a child.
I mean, yeah, it's very odd. It's very interesting and
Did you say it's very hot?
odd. I
Oh,
mean, it is
odd.
very hot. It's like 40-degree weather right now. Oh,
Oh,
this
my
thing is so
goodness.
hot. um, it's just such a yeah. The illustrations are so ominous and so eerie to look
Kind of
at.
looks like a spore, like growing out of the ground, grasping onto things.
Kinda like like aside from Alien, it reminds me of like a Skinwalker. But again,
Hmm.
usually the going off of like a Skinwalker is much more humanoid, a normal size looking head, and the eyes aren't large. Now the eyes of a Skinwalker are usually like normal size. It's like just a straight up person, a Smeagol. But this thing is like that, but it's again the gray like head, elongated and hands for feet. Very, very odd. 4 feet ish tall. So I don't know what to make of it. And again, like I'm just fascinated with how it appeared for this short period of time and then disappeared. And that'll be leading us into the sightings that I'll let you take point on. But we're just going to jump to our first ad break before we get to that. So we'll be back in 3, 2, 1, and we're back.
So for our first sighting here, it was witnessed by one of 3 teenagers driving north on Farm Street. They've actually narrowed down the location where they think they've seen this on like Google Maps. Bill Bartlett, the driver, was around 17 or 18 at the time, and notices something he initially thinks is a dog or a cat crawling along a low rock wall. Once his headlights shine in on the creature, though, he realizes it resembles more of a typical gray alien, but with orange, shiny, lidless eyes on a face with no features. It had long, spindly arms and legs with long fingers and toes. The skin or texture of the creature was like wet sandpaper and peach or orange colored.
Yeah, that account is crazy, and that was the first one, correct? And the
Yeah, I believe that was the first one. The second
yeah,
one was on the 22nd,
right.
and that was by John Baxter. Do you have some details on that encounter?
I believe that encounter. I don't have too many details on that, but now I know that the gentleman who had the first encounter, he also reported that he feels like he had a second encounter with this creature, but he did not see it that time. And
You got some more details than me for sure.
yeah, well, that was what I was really intrigued by because when he apparently, as he states, he was with his friends and they were driving. They weren't drunk or anything like that. But when they were driving along doing about like 40, 50 miles per hour,
Yeah, that was the first one with Bartlett.
that was the
They're
first one.
driving.
Well, because this time they didn't see it, but something actually started smacking down on their vehicle as they were driving.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and he was convinced that it was the same thing. I can't remember specifically what tipped him off to think it was that, but he suspected it at least. And this was shortly after, I believe, the first encounter.
Okay.
But again, I know there was that other encounter that someone else had the next day, and I think that was the gentleman with his girlfriend at the
John
time.
Baxter?
Yeah.
Okay. I can't confirm the girlfriend part. What I've looked into was John Baxter was walking down the road, and around midnight on Miller High Road, which is close to the same farm street, he was approached by a short, shadowy figure. He kept walking towards it, and he thought it was somebody that he knows that lives on the road who was also short.
Yeah.
But as the figure approaches him, and it's dark, he can't make out who it is. He gets up within 15 feet or so, still can't quite make out who it is, but it's a dark, small person, and it darts and takes off down a gully, runs up onto the opposite bank, and he's able to listen to its footsteps running away. So he chases after it and kind of follows along and gets another glimpse of it, and then he gets freaked out, and he looks at this thing standing nearby a tree with its feet molded around a rock, grasping onto the tree. He distinctly remembers the figure 8-shaped head and 2 lighter glowing eyes. So he then decided to escape and walk down Farm Street.
I'm just baffled why he would chase it.
I'd want to see what it was too,
So
but I don't know if I could be brave enough at nighttime.
Well, yeah, when you're all alone.
I really want to get our details figured out here now. So, well, what was the encounter with the girlfriend now? Was that
Well,
him or was that with a teenager from before? Now, to be
maybe.
clear, both encounters were by teenagers.
Yeah.
The first group was Bartlett, who was with his two friends who did not see the creature. He was the only one to see it the first time.
Yes.
The second encounter was John Baxter, who witnessed it while walking.
That was the gentleman that chased it.
Yeah.
Yes. So John Baxter, to be correct, he was leaving his girlfriend's house.
Right. Okay, there we go.
Yes. And it was about the south end of Miller High Road. And that goes right into your story, this thing.
Yeah.
Like, the thing that really freaks me out is he was calling out to this thing. Which, again, I don't think you'd want to do these things.
When he was walking towards it, right?
Yeah, he was calling
Because he
out
thought
to
it was somebody that he knew.
Yeah, he was asking, like, I guess, shutting out, like, who is that?
Yeah.
And yeah, you're right, trying to get a better look, and the thing was scurrying off. And yeah, I mean, he hears the footsteps, he goes off chasing down after it, and then that's terrifying to see this thing, I guess. Yeah. I guess he says there was a passing car that picked him up.
And drove him home after that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So both initial sightings were by teenagers around 17 or 18.
Mm-hmm.
One was with a group, one was alone. And these happened within 2 days of each other.
Yeah.
So if this was an alien encounter and it landed for a while, or maybe landed again the next night, hasn't really been seen since. Looking around online for information, I was able to track down one other comment about the creature. Interestingly enough, a now 60-year-old by the username of Nosset7487 left a comment on one of the wiki entries on, I think it was the Cryptids wiki, with like a Z on the end of the word cryptid.
Yeah.
And she describes an encounter in 1977 when she was also 17 years old. She was on her way back from work, driving with her coworker. Around 9:30 in the evening, an alien-like figure crossed the road in front of her on all fours. The standout feature to her were the eyes, as it turned and stared at the approaching vehicle, but continued to meander normally across the road, seemingly in no hurry. Neither her nor her coworker could explain what they had just seen. Years later, she had read about the Dover demon and did some research into it online and then left that comment.
I mean, I'm baffled. It goes to show, too, how many other people could have very well experienced
And just
that
never
thing.
commented on it.
Never commented it.
Apparently, she didn't feel the need to reach out to the authorities or anything. It was just
Yeah.
such a quick encounter.
Yeah.
They kind of went about their lives and were just a little bit freaked out by it, but it was something that stuck with her, I guess, for years, eh?
Oh, yeah. People will suppress that kind of stuff for sure as well. They might a fear of ridicule, a fear of being attacked for putting out something like that or saying something like that, being looked at as kind of like, what's wrong with you? Especially if you feel so alone. I mean, to witness something like that, as quick as it is, you don't even know if it's real.
And the thing about this that really gets me is that it's just wandering.
Yeah.
Like, what is it doing in these areas? It's not appearing out of a UFO. It's very disconnected from UFOs, actually, because there's no reported UFOs around that time in the area. Why does it look a little bit different than the typical gray? Is it wearing a bodysuit with some kind of special lenses for the eyes? Is that what made it different? Is it maybe not an alien? Is it some kind of like deformed, I want to say like a skinwalker or something? Is it some weird other creature? Could it be misidentified as something? Authorities tried to discredit it as a juvenile moose.
Yeah, that's like the main go-to I see as well.
The Dover demon was sighted in an area far removed from moose territory.
Well, it wasn't even foaling season as well, which I thought was really interesting.
Yeah.
And the only two moose that were reported in that area was in 1977, 1978. And that was only two of them. Again, not foaling season, only two moose in that area. I mean, it just goes to show, I mean, I doubt it is. Plus, a baby moose is much bigger than the reported size of this creature.
And
That's
the
another
witnesses
thing.
both describe it as having its digits wrapped around the objects it's crawling on. A moose has hooves.
It does, yeah. It does not have, like, not even tendrils. fingers.
Hmm.
Another thing too is a lot of local farm owners, even a lot of them owning horses, reported no missing animals. So nothing, no horses, no livestock was out or taken away. So a lot of people thinking like, oh, what if it was like a juvenile horse or something like that? There's nothing missing. Everything was accounted for. Again, the weird thing is yeah, no additional sightings since 1978. So where did it go?
Oh, exactly. What was it doing? Crawling around?
Again, it's one of those cases like, okay, I'm leaning towards the UFO side because this thing, it just popped up and it wandered around, explored, and then it disappeared, never to be seen from again. I 110% think with how close the sighting was back to back of this one creature by literally 24 hours, that there are more people that saw this thing and they're just not coming out to talk about it, which is such a shame because when these people die, their stories go with them.
Hmm. If you're listening, denizens of Dover, speak up.
Yes, please report these sightings. I don't even know what would go through my mind if I saw something like that. I mean, most of these experiences are when people are driving cars and they see something go across the road. When I was driving in the middle of the night in this thunderstorm that was going off from Port Alberni down the coast on Vancouver Island, clear as day, right in front of my high beams on the highway, a cougar jumped right across the highway in front of my car. It scared the daylights out of me.
Yep. I have a very similar cougar story. I was driving home from work one day this was back when I was working at a fast food restaurant. And I worked late. I came home. There were little tiny eyeballs in the center of the road.
Ooh.
I thought it was a raccoon or something like that. No, it was actually a big friggin' cougar. And it was crouched, like huddled down in a crouched position in the center of the road, facing me, so I couldn't see the length of its body.
Mm-hmm.
When it stood up, it turned around and jumped into the ditch, and then crouched back down, and I could see it looking up at the car.
Yeah.
That, oh man, I put the pedal to the metal. I drove the rest of the way home because it was on my home street that this happened. I went right into the house, just bam, opened the door, lock, went right in.
Well, again, that sounds. You don't know if okay, the second character that bumped into this creature, you don't know if it's the only one out there. If it's running away, is it trying to lure you out there? What are its intentions? You don't know. To me, it sounds like it was just curious and it was really just exploring. And when it was called out, it realized, okay, I'm just going to get out of there. But it wasn't like afraid or feeling threatened. The guy obviously didn't feel threatened. He probably felt anxious when he saw what it really was.
And it's so weird that it kept approaching him when he walked up to it, and then it took off and broke away once he got scared. He couldn't figure out what it was. At least, I might be adding that he felt scared there. I'm not sure if the witness actually felt scared until it broke away from him.
Yeah.
But I'd imagine like maybe it sensed something from him and just took off.
Yeah. Well, a sense of like curiosity, like it doesn't even know what. Compared to other cryptids, which from reports seems clear that they have a half sort of understanding of us and dangers of associating with us, whereas this genuinely seemed unknown.
Yeah.
Like, what is this? Who's this person? But I like on you said like as you said, we don't know what he was experiencing. If he was scared, if he was terrified. I imagine that anything, if this creature is to approach you, you would immediately get a sense of, okay, this human, it feels threatened. It doesn't feel comfortable. Especially if it starts calling out. I mean, any animal that approaches you, if you start calling out at it, you're going to get its attention. If it's a deer, you're going to freak it out. Anything, really.
Mm-hmm.
But just the fact that it disappears, it leaves me baffled. And I really wish there was more information on this thing because I would love to know and I'd love to hear it.
If you had an encounter like the first witness, what would your reaction be? What's your first instinct? Would you back up and take another look at it?
I would want to confirm that someone else saw it, and I wasn't just like me missing something. Like I would have to make sure like, okay, I need something to like back up my visual because it's again like the second case, or not the second case, like this case, like it being, or the third case with the lady, when you have it just quickly going across the road and it happens so quick. So many instances where you need to not reiterate, but have someone reaffirm what you saw helps so much because you'll think that your mind's just playing tricks on you, especially when it's night. If you're exhausted, if you're tired, you had a long day at work, and this quick thing happens within a span of 3 seconds. I mean, You need to have someone reaffirm it. So what I would do, I would hope someone else saw it. And if that's not the case, I feel safe in my car. It depends how far I would go. Would I stop and get out to try and look?
Probably not.
I feel like there'd be enough of a rush that I actually would.
Really?
I feel like it.
Oh.
I mean, I have other people with me too. So I feel like if I open the door up and I can't see out there, I don't have a flashlight, then I probably wouldn't have much of a justification to do so. But if I have a flashlight on hand, I'll stop, open the door, shine it. That moment, I would probably be so caught up in the moment of just like, what was that? And then shining the light. And this is where I would probably regret my actions if I see it standing there looking at me and you shine the light. It's like, holy shit. There's this thing with its fingers wrapped around a rock.
Feet fingers?
Feet fingers, yeah.
This alien's fingers are so long, it doesn't need any special tools for probing.
It'd be terrifying, absolutely terrifying. But what would you do in that case if you're driving along and again you have a couple friends? I'm in the passenger seat and none of us see it.
Most likely scenario is just you and I driving
Yeah.
along down the road in the Jeep. I don't know why I'd be driving the Jeep. But anyways, if I'm driving the Jeep and I see this thing in the headlights, I think I'd react fast enough to stop. I would brake very, very fast.
Yeah.
And we'd probably try and both get a look at it. If you didn't see it and it dove away, I don't think I'd chase after it.
Well, hence its name. I mean, it's
The Dover Demon.
yeah, it dove out of the way.
It dove out of the way.
But you're not getting out of the vehicle then?
No, if it didn't run away, if it was just standing there or something, we'd probably feel pretty creeped out in that instance. I don't think we'd want to get out.
So are you creeped out based on the fact that it doesn't have a mouth or a nose or anything, just the eyes? I mean, let alone the fact that it's tiny, like 4 feet, 3 feet, it probably wouldn't feel too
So are the
threatened.
Greys. And they abduct people.
True, true.
I don't think I wouldn't want to risk it. I would be scared.
Do you ever think in this case that, again, with witness number 2, I'm glad that he got a ride because I feel like if he kept walking, a part of me feels, and this is again my own perspective on this, it's not reality, it's not backed by science or fact. I feel like this thing probably would have trailed him and tailed him home.
It ran away from him and then it went down a bank on the opposite side and clung to a tree.
Yeah, but it didn't like leave the area completely. Like it was still within viewpoint of this guy, and that's when the guy backed off. But I feel like this thing was curious enough that it could have trailed him. And again, that's another thing you hear about with cryptids is some of them, they do follow people home. And there are dark things out there, like spiritually.
Can I keep it?
Yeah, can I keep it? I like it as a pet. There are dark spiritualistic things that can latch onto you and you bring them home and without even realizing it. I would hate to think that this thing would have followed this guy home if he didn't have that vehicle stop by that he could have hopped in. Yeah, you're showing me there. Is that supposed to be a gray alien with a Dover side by side?
Yeah, no, I'm just showing Taylor a picture here. I have a little field guide of different cryptids and stuff that I'm kind of referencing for ideas for these episodes. And the reason I came up with the suit theory here is because there's a picture specifically for the Dover Demon that just happens to show an illustration of a gray alien, but wearing a suit.
Yeah. Well, that's what it's supposed to be
So
reflecting.
it's not my idea, but yeah, that's the Dover Demon on the cover
Interesting.
there.
Interesting.
And I thought, well, that's so fitting. Like, look at the gray alien itself looking like, well, that's an alien. And then you go over here and you go, well, that also looks like an alien. That's not descriptive enough for the listeners, but
No, but I mean, the equivalent to that would be you have people in the army. In the army, they wear balaclava. They look, I'm not going to go as far as saying alien, but they don't look human. They, with their suits, their bulletproof vests, their armor, everything like that, they're wearing helmets, they're wearing goggles, everything like that. For all we know, that could have been some advanced form of technology as a suit. When I go out and I play paintball, I'm wearing like masks over my face and everything like that. You wouldn't be able to identify facial features on me.
my creepy crawly suit.
Yeah, creepy crawly
He was
suit.
just scared of the humans.
Crawling
Stupid teenagers.
around, putting my tendrils around on rocks and stuff, climbing trees.
Ooh, probing time.
I always think of that movie Paul when he's like, "Anyone want one of these?" and he's got like the bagel on his finger. And they're
Oh,
driving the cab. That always
nasty.
cracks me up. Oh, that always makes me laugh. Oh. Seth Rogen is great as Paul in that movie. Yeah, I don't think I have anything else really to add onto the Dover Demon though. I mean again, there's not much information. But I think we covered all the grounds really, really well. I'm so happy you had that third encounter because like I only thought there was the two, and it was really making me curious.
And I kind of just came across it. I was scrolling through the comment sections of these various websites and articles and the wikis, and scrolled down on the one, and then there was this one comment, and I was like, oh, it just stood out to me.
Yeah.
Especially if the user's as old as she says she is now. Not that 60 is that old, but anyways, that goes right back. And if someone's just going to spatter a comment out on a wiki, like, you're not really attention seeking. You're just putting it out there for people to see, which makes me inclined to believe
Exactly.
that's probably that probably happened to her.
Yeah. It doesn't give her any benefit, really. She's just sharing her account for sure. It's
Exactly.
interesting how it was only young teenagers that experienced that.
Yeah,
well.
that's kind of strange to me too.
Yeah. I mean, if it was adults, chances are they are past by now, or they're very, very old now and they either forgot or just choose not to talk about it. But
In the 70s?
yeah, if someone was, let's say, an adult in their 60s in the 70s that saw that, they'd be like 90
Oh,
now.
yeah, no, that's true.
So
Yeah.
it's just, yeah, open to interpretation, curious, wonder. But yeah, there's our Dover Demon segment. And by all means, who knows? We might revisit this down the line after we do a couple like alien episodes, and we can kind of like do a bit of research and see more into like grays for a future episode. Maybe we might find some cool similarities and kind of touch upon it in the future. So who knows? But the good thing about this episode is we're jumping to our second cryptid. Now, I'm gonna try not to butcher the name. It is the
Chibafufe.
Chibafufe?
Chibafufe.
Chibafufe, okay.
A Chibafufe.
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 This is... I have arachnophobia. Now, I'll leave that with you as we go into our ad break. And we're...
Wow, what an excellent transition to an ad break.
I have arachnophobia, ladies and gentlemen. And yeah, we're talking about a giant African spider, also known as the Congolese jungle spider, I believe, or Congolese giant spider, I believe it was.
Congolese giant spider.
Yes.
Yeah.
Said to inhabit the forests of the Congo. This thing, it terrifies me, and diving into its physique, its look, we're talking about a massive spider, brown colored, with a purple like distinguished symbol on its abdomen, with a lifespan about 5 feet long. Now I'm thinking again, the best reference of this is probably, we've all seen Harry Potter Chamber of Secrets, I hope, and you've got those spiders. I think are a great example.
Yeah. 4 foot long legs, apparently. Like, that's nasty. Connect that to a spider body. Ugh.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want to run into something like that. And you had mentioned to me earlier that there's a lot of people that believe in this thing and that it's dying out.
Mm-hmm. A lot of people that have spoken to locals, the locals say, oh yeah, we know about that. They used to be everywhere. And the thing that's kind of reduced their numbers and made them quite rare is the fact that there's more farmland being developed and deforestation. So it's reduced their territory, and they've drastically reduced in numbers. Again, this is a cryptid that very much, to me, sounded believable. But then looking at the anatomy of spiders, it almost makes me kind of second guess the possibility of it. Now, I know back in the day, there were giant insects. There were creatures of preposterous, like enormous size before humans came along. I mean, look at like Titanoboa, Gigantopithecus, massive size. And that was the same for insects. And again, it wouldn't surprise me at all. I don't know the spiders of that time. I did not look into that because, again, I barely was able to pull through and look through pictures of this bloody thing. But I wanted to do it because I thought it would be such a cool thing to kind of sprinkle into this episode.
That's how I feel looking at whales.
I'm going to get you whale watching someday.
No,
Maybe we'll do a
no,
whale episode.
No.
We'll play as some
Nuh-uh.
whales.
No, thank you. No, thank you. I'm out. Feed me to the big feet.
Again, part of its look. The eggs are reportedly like a pale yellow white and are peanut shaped. Natives report that the babies are yellow, again with that purple abdomen. As they mature, they become darker and more brown. Adult spiders have that massive leg span, and they're extremely venomous.
And they look like a big tarantula when they're fully grown.
Yeah,
Just
I
a
guess
big,
you could say
extra
that.
large tarantula.
Their intelligence is something that I find really interesting as well. Many accounts explain how these spiders dig shallow tunnels under tree roots, they camouflage them with leaves, and they create a web network, basically between their burrow and the tree, which essentially creates a series of trip lines. So, should any prey basically walk in, they would trip a line, alerting the spider, and then the prey is then chased into the web. The web is basically set up between, I imagine, two trees covered with leaves, primarily set up on game trails. This is similar of a tactic to most spiders. I mean, you flick on the web and you see the spider come crawling out. That's how it senses the vibrations, the signals, alerts them that there's food ready to be captured. So in terms of this spider, did you have anything you wanted to talk about on its looks, or did you want to go into the sightings?
Oh no, giant spider looks are enough for me.
So yeah, as the sightings, as far as that goes, the very first sighting of a Chubafufi?
I'm really leaving you on this one. You can do it. Chibafufe.
Chubafufe.
Chibafufe.
It's such an interesting name.
It'd be funny if I actually have it wrong.
I initially wanted to call it Yabafafi, but I mean, the
You're
internet
going with
says
the
something
Norwegian
else.
J on that.
Norwegian, yeah. So the first sighting of one of these creatures was by a Westerner in 1890 near Lake Nyassa. British missionaries came upon the creature, got tangled in the webs. One of them was bit, but they managed to escape after firing upon the spider with their pistols. The man that was bit shortly after received chills, swelling, became extremely delirious before going unconscious, and then succumbed to these effects and died. I guess there was just around the wound, it was just got discolored. That's where the swelling was. It just got really, really nasty. Again, they're explained to be highly venomous, and that freaks me out. I would hate to be bit by one
I
of
wonder
these
how
things.
large the wound was, because if these spiders are truly giant, you'd think that the holes it would leave on you when it injects its venom would have to be intense, or that it would crush you under the weight of its bite.
Yeah, I would imagine so.
Again, I guess the legs are technically only 4 feet, so half my body length. Well, I'm not 8 feet tall, but just over half my body length. And then you attach a spider body onto that. Maybe it has a tinier head. I don't know, but its jaws are still pretty big. That's like if a dog bites you, it leaves a mark. You get some pretty big holes in you.
Yeah, I would imagine. Again, I'm not there, but let's say in this conflict, you're caught in the web. This thing plucks you off the web, pierces you, and then your buddy comes gun blazing, shooting it. It drops you and scurries off. And then, I mean, you might feel fine. It could have bit you into the shoulder or something like that. You bandage it up, and then it starts to kick in after like half an hour, 40 minutes.
Still, that's a lot of venom from a big spider, unless it's like purposefully giving you just a tiny little nip.
Mm-hmm.
I would imagine that the damage would be much more intense.
Yeah, I would think you're right. Again, I don't have any information on the level of venom and all that. The only other sightings I have are primarily from a distance, nothing that's really consists of being interacted with. So again, like I said before, yeah, locals describe the spiders as being numerous. Another sighting, though, and this is something you were touching upon and reading before we were recording this, doing kind of our discussions. So another sighting consists of an English couple traveling through a region of the Congo jungle. They were motoring down a road in 1938. They saw a large object crossing the road in front of them, thinking it was a monkey or a cat. Not a dog, a cat. They realized it was a spider with a leg span of 3 feet. I'm out. I could imagine something that big crawling around, like over the ground. Hell no.
I would run over it with the vehicle.
I imagine it's crawling pretty fast. But I mean, what if it crawls up a tree and like comes and jumps at you like a facehugger from Alien? Like, God.
So long as the vehicle's enclosed, you're not in an open Jeep.
I imagine in 1938 in the Congo. I'm actually curious. 1938 vehicles. Motor car. Let's see.
Ooh, motor car. Not even a car, a motor car. Going way back.
Motor car. Yeah. So I guess, yeah, some of them are definitely enclosed.
Yeah,
Some of them have that like
that's
open.
the kind of thing you'd expect from the time frame.
I feel like these vintage ones too. I feel like vehicles in the Congo probably wouldn't be closed cabbed. I think they'd be open cabbed. But again, I can't say
some
for sure.
some form of coverage in case it rains.
Yeah, like a soft top for sure. I think that's insanely intriguing how happened to see it and just kind of like realize that, oh my God, it's a spider. And it sounds like it's a younger one too, but I imagine it's crawling pretty fast. I believe that from their account, they reported that they could hear it like pittering off.
Oh, you the gross spider noises.
Yeah.
Imagine a spider wearing flip-flops for me.
Wearing flip-flops.
Imagine the sound.
Oh my God. My mind is kind of, oh God. My mind is defaulting to the spider with rollerblades on from Harry Potter. Ridiculous. Again, this thing though, looking at photos of it just terrify me. We were then watching videos. The last recorded sighting, I believe, is 2014, and it was a video sighting where there's several different filters that have been displayed on it, but if you Google the name of this creature on YouTube and look up sightings, you'll find, again, black and white version that we watched, and that was probably the clearest version.
Yeah.
And it's on the right side of the screen. And how did you describe that?
About halfway through the video, you see just below a tree, but something coming down from the other side of the little pool pond area. Something comes down the hill, and it's fairly large. At first, I was looking for a spider coming out of the tree, like it was coming down off a web. But no, it was crawling down the side of the hill from behind a dark bush. And to me, it almost looked like a crab walking sideways, and then it scurried and took off. And it never seemed to turn, but the video artifacts and stuff and the blurriness make it really hard to see. Because spiders rotate pretty smoothly. But the more I kept watching it, it does really look like there's a lot of limbs on that thing, and it scurries off. So it was definitely a big something.
Yeah.
My first thought, honestly, was maybe it was a turtle, because its back had a lot of texture to it. But it's also hard to say what I'm even looking at there. There was a lot of imagination making up the gaps.
Yeah. Yeah, it really was. I mean, as far as turtle goes, it definitely moved pretty fast for a turtle. Again, I don't know what kind of turtles reside in the Congo.
Hey, turtles can run pretty fast.
You're not wrong. I mean, when they have to get off, like infant turtles, they got to get off that beach with those snakes coming after them. I've seen the documentaries. Those turtles, they move. I'm pretty sure it's turtles, or is it, there's turtles and lizards. I think some lizards that got to get out of there, but.
Well, lizards can move really fast when they need to.
Yeah.
It's the turtles, though, are surprising. Some of the land turtles, even, they don't just always walk around slow. They can run fairly fast. Like I said, you could easily outrun one, but...
And, in terms of the video, the movement, like spiders have a tendency, at least spiders that I encounter, they kind of move on an incline sideways as they turn, and then they go off. It's one seamless fluid motion, and it looked like this thing did that. Turtles are similar. When you think about it,
similar to spiders.
Similar to spiders, yeah. I'm sure they share a genetic relation.
No.
Not backed by science. But turtles, in sense of movement, it's very similar because they do kind of like push to the side on an incline, sort of as they're turning.
I kind of see where you're coming from, but
not
more in the
spot
spidery
on.
sense, not so much in the turtle sense.
Yeah. Well, in the video,
my spider senses are tingling more.
In the video, at least what I could kind of see, again, using imagination to fill in the gaps, I feel like you could kind of see legs.
No, there's something that comes down. It could be a leg. It comes down the hill so smoothly, it almost looks like a floating square. And it comes down, and then you see the blurry, interchanging movement of legs. Some kind of thing wrapped around the side of it, and then it floats off, and it's connected to that hill. It's just so hard to tell what it is with the video being so low resolution.
Yeah, exactly.
Especially it was like a night cam or something like that.
Yeah,
night vision camera.
With spiders being that size in general, and this is kind of getting into my last discussion topic about this. So I think it's interesting how spiders have a very unique respiratory system, though, to be able to sustain the amount of oxygen that we can handle. I don't think that their lung has the capacity to handle it, unless, again, this kind of goes back on some off-cast discussions we've had where we would have to get one, look at it, and then understand, like, wow, this thing has the lung capacity. This thing could have 4 lungs, like a scorpion or something like that, and it enables it to exist.
Well, do all spiders have 1 lung?
Now, that's what's interesting, because it does depend. So some spiders are very unique with their respiratory system. And from what I had found out, again, I'm not an analogist, an arachnologist.
Not willingly.
Not willingly, no. They are the only animal group that breathes simultaneously with lungs and the trachea. Looking at the physiology of the respiration, the existence of trachea plays an important role in spiders with a well-developed tracheal system. So, again, the respiratory organ of a spider, called a book lung. Form of respiratory organ found in certain air-breathing arachnid, arthropods, scorpions, and some spiders. This provides an extensive surface for the exchange of oxygen and carbon dioxide within the surrounding air. So, the structure and function of their lungs. The number varies from just one pair in most spiders to 4 pairs in scorpions. The unfolded pages, the plates, the book lung are filled with hemolymph. The folds maximize the surface exposed to air and thereby maximize the amount of gas exchanged with the environment. So, 2 types of respiratory organs are found among arachnids. Again, the book lungs and trachea. Diffusion of gases occurs within small fluid-filled tubes that ramify over the internal organs. Scorpions, tailless whip scorpions, and whip scorpions rely upon book lungs. Now, again, if you are a scientist and you love spiders and scorpions, I'm sure you very much understood a lot of that. My take on that is that we've only essentially discovered arachnopods, arachnids that have that kind of analogy. Now, if we discover one of these giant spiders, for all we know, they could have massive lungs inside them. Now, it's just a matter of finding one and then, fortunately, cutting it open.
Fortunately, cutting it open. Yeah, the arachnid loves that.
Yeah.
It's dead now.
Yes.
And then the eggs burst out.
Oh, God.
And it starts hatching everywhere.
Those videos.
Oh.
No, thank you. I had a hard enough time getting through that episode of The Mandalorian where you have the snow spiders and there's, no, thank you. So, again, I think it's very interesting how it's just a matter of discovering one of these creatures and, again, dissecting it, looking at it, and seeing how it is able to handle the amount of oxygen in the air, all that kind of level of stuff.
That's so morbid. That poor spider. Would you do that to an alien, or if we found a Bigfoot, you'd want it dead and you want to cut it open and look at its lungs?
Not that I would get satisfaction from it, but I think that...
Yes, you would.
Not from a Bigfoot, no.
Not from the spider.
The spider probably... Well, I feel bad killing most insects and most... Sometimes I feel bad about killing spiders.
They're our friends. They eat other bugs.
They do. And there are black widows that are outside the house here that I'll let them hang out.
My favorite Avenger.
Yes. Shoutouts to Black Widow. But I do feel bad about, like, bumblebees, stuff like that. I'll have to save them. If I see them struggling, I gotta save them. In terms of spiders, especially a giant size, for the sake of knowledge, I would be intrigued to have one killed and then just... I don't want to say the phrase, see what makes it tick. I feel like that's extremely morbid.
I feel the same about whales.
They've already dissected whales. They already know what makes them tick. But this thing...
Yeah, they tick me off.
I gotta play whale sounds for you one day.
No.
Trick you.
No. Just the other day, we have a Chromecast and it cycles through the different images on the TV, right? Yeah, you know the one.
Oh.
Well, I'm setting up a laptop to watch some other shows on that we can't cast to the TV, and my dad's behind me, and I'm facing away from the TV, and he says, "Look at the TV," just like that. That's exactly what he says, and I turn around and I see I'm standing right in front of the TV, like I'm within a foot from it, and I see the whale, the big whale image, and my heart sinks, my face goes white. I turn back and I look away from it. I'm like, why? My dad's just chuckling to himself. I mean, yeah, it's okay. It's pretty funny. I get it. I have a fear of whales. Haha. And I can kind of glance back after and be like, at least it's a still picture. I can kind of, I don't like this. But I hated that instance where I turned around and it was there.
Yeah.
Like, I hate that.
You must hate Finding Nemo.
Oh, it's been so long. I remember being a kid in theaters watching that movie, and pretty sure I looked away from a few scenes. Like, I couldn't handle it. And how loud it was, too.
But it was a good whale. It was a friendly whale in that movie.
Most whales are technically friendly.
Mm-hmm. Have you ever seen Free Willy?
Yeah, I watched that as a kid.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I'm sorry, Reuben. I shouldn't laugh.
Orcas aren't that bad.
Mm-hmm.
When we go down in size, the whales become less evil. Until you reach
Oh.
until you reach the dolphin level. Those things are just evil outright. Like no, it doesn't matter how small they are. They're nasty little buggers.
I like how you have this tier system, a ranking system for these things.
Dolphins suck. Orcas aren't that bad. The next step up, sharks and everything, they're totally fine.
Mm-hmm.
As soon as you get to the bigger whale tiers, no, I'm out.
You're out.
I'm out. I'd rather see a giant
Oh.
squid.
And giant squid would be pretty cool to see.
Not in the dark ocean. That would still scare me.
Oh yeah.
Anything would scare me in the deep dark ocean, but if I'm at a distance and I see a giant squid, it's not going to bother me.
Yeah.
With the whale, well, nope, I'm out. Can't handle it.
Whales are probably going to pop up in conversation many a time on this podcast, ladies and gentlemen. Again, speaking of underwater cryptids, tune into our first episode of Cryptid Clues where we cover the Ogopogo. Again, that was a good segue.
That was an excellent segue. I think
but
we left the spider topic.
we
behind
left
by
the
now,
spider
so-
topic. Yeah, we got a little bit of a tangent. To kind of bring us back on my last little bit of the spider topic, the ground-dwelling spiders, they're said to prey on antelope, birds, and other small animals. Again, the most like the scientific confirmed largest spider that we have, I believe, is the bird-eating spider, which is just a massive thing. I think their leg span reaches about 12 inches long, and those things are terrifying. I know Australia's got some horrifying spider size, like huntsman spiders, wolf spiders out there. My goodness. I mean, we do have some significantly large ones in British Columbia here, but nothing that big. And with that, we will close out this show now and move away from the spiders forever. I don't need to revisit those at all. Is there anything else you want to add before we close this episode out?
No, I think that's pretty good.
Yeah.
The spider thing it won't give me nightmares, but
No.
since you brought up whales, I hope it gives you nightmares.
Oh, yeah. It quite might. So yeah, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning into this. I guess this is episode 3 of Cryptid Clues. Yeah, we're just cruising along here. So hopefully you checked out our episode 2. We dived into the Jersey Devil. So that was a good episode. And for our 4th episode, not sure what we're going to cover, but it'll be good.
Oh, we're gonna find some stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Man, that episode too. That was a hot day when we did that, and it's
It
just
was.
as hot today.
Yeah.
I
oddly
really
enough.
hate that.
I feel like it's the same temperature, actually, which is crazy.
Oh, I want this heat wave to end.
Yeah, me too. Me too. We're breaking records over here in BC for heat.
You know what? Why don't we pick a cryptid right now for the next episode?
I'm down. I mean, what do you have in mind? I mean, that looks like an angry koala on the front of this book.
Mothman.
Mothman? I would love to start looking into the Mothman.
Yeah, I'm thinking that's where we should go next.
Okay, well, there you have it. Our 4th episode, when we're coming back at you, it'll be about the Mothman. So again, be sure, if you have any questions, you want to reach out to us, send us an email, CryptidClues@gmail.com, or be sure to check us out on our website, CryptidClues.ca. Yeah. You're looking at me like you have some
No, I'm just waiting
in-depth
for
of thought. All right,
You
well,
think I'm gonna say goodbye to our listeners? No,
Yeah.
I love them too much. I want them to stay.
all right, ladies and gentlemen, we'll see you soon.
Have a good night, people folk.